Urbex is the spirit of the Northwest. You and I will travel and go on adventures together. There's nothing like the Northwest. You and I will experience new things together. There's nothing like the Northwest. And it can be found here on PNWURBEX. PNWURBEX is spirit of the Northwest.
Welcome to Pacific Northwest Urbex. Today we are going to take a step back in time and look at the Sears located in Tukwila, Washington, right before Christmas in year 2023. Well, let's head inside and take a look and see what Sears has in stock this year. Well, I do want to apologize for showing my jacket every now and then through the video. I do apologize for that. And I also owe you an apology. I am using some Kmart Christmas music. It's actual store music that was used in Kmart stores. I just like the vintage sound of it, and I figured it was kind of appropriate, maybe a little bit for Sears. I mean, they were both owned by the same company, so let's walk around Sears and see what we have in stock this Christmas season. You know, it's amazing after just a few decades on how Sears has changed, in all retail too. But you know, from Black Friday sale, you know, when we used to have the doorbusters, people wrapped around the building, you know, our stores, Sears stores, were just packed full of people. You know, it doesn't matter what department you worked in, you were on that register from open to close. I mean, it was that busy. Like you didn't ever get a chance to get a break hardly. And it's gone from that down to only a couple of us within this huge department store. You know, it's really, really sad, at least in my opinion, of the downfall of retail and Sears in itself. Pretty sad. Well, as we can see, all the departments have been kind of rearranged. By this time of year in 2023, a lot of the departments are kind of being shifted around on a regular basis. Straight ahead, we're going to see a walled off section. This was the former shoe department. It will open back up towards the closing of this store. But let's go and walk around, and we're going to eventually head upstairs and see what we have in stock up there as well. As we head into the former women's apparel department, this used to be painted blue. That was basically for Land's End. You know, they painted this gray about the time that they painted all the other stores gray, mostly for the Sears reopening of Sears, Rediscover Sears campaign. Even though this store never had the Rediscover Sears as far as being closed and the reopened back up, but you will see signs in some of the videos that I have of this store where it says Rediscover Sears. But let's go ahead and walk back towards the tool department, and we're just going to kind of just ricochet through different areas to see what they have. Now, by this time in Sears history here at the Tukwila store, the men's department, as far as apparel, pretty much decimated. You know, they have a couple of racks here and there of clothing. The women's clothing, too, was pretty knocked down to what it was prior. But there was definitely much more women's apparel and kids' apparel. It just seemed like this is what they kind of got stock in. The men's department never really did fully recover with a lot of stock, and as you can see, the clothing racks are spaced really far apart. Again, this is going to be the former women's apparel department. Now it's the hardware department. They have a pretty good setup and displays of Sears Craftsman. Obviously, if you were familiar with Sears 10, 20 years ago prior to this filming, it's nothing compared to what Sears hardware used to be. But we'll go ahead and take a look and see what they have in stock. If you're watching this and you're the one that's basically wondering, why is this person filming inside of a store? Sears of all stores. It just seems really weird, really bizarre. And basically, I am just here to record of what this Sears looked like through this period of time. I wish I could go back in time, and I wish I had video of my Sears I worked at, this Sears, what Sears really used to be. And it's basically, now at this point, there are no more Sears in Washington State. So basically it's just as a, kind of catalog of what the store was. And for future generations, future people that ever wondered what a Sears was, well, here's a little bit of a glimpse of what it was. That's the whole reason why I do it. It's basically to just go back and kind of remember what Sears was. This display ad here for tech student, basically it's a tool discount program. I think that's a really good idea, but at this point in Sears life, I just didn't, I would feel sorry for anybody that actually applied for it. I just don't think they're gonna probably they're not gonna get the whole advantage out of the program at this point in the life of Sears. There's hardly any tools to even choose from what this tool department has to offer. Back in the day, like, see those tools kits on the left, now they'd say these are mechanic tool sets. Well, back in the day, you would get a true mechanics tool set in a large box, and it would have anywhere from 1,500, sometimes 2,000 pieces of tools in it. Like, it was a true mechanics tool set. It's kind of funny, the labeling that they have, where they'll put in 40, 50 pieces and call it a mechanic's tool set, which, you know, it's more just something that you would throw in the trunk or in the closet of a house if you ever really needed a couple of tools. To see the former jewelry counter basically now has tools set up in it. Not that these are high priced tools. Even got some die-hard shoes in there, some boots. Basically they're just trying to fill up space. They have a lot of tools, so let's go ahead and fill up the tool or the jewelry counter. I call it tool counter. Now there in the other jewelry counter on the left, they actually have jewelry filled up. Let's head up to the second level, see what we have in stock up there. Escalators are sounding a little bit squeaky, and obviously by this point the third level is still closed. It never will reopen by the timing when this store completely closes. And as suspected, you know, it's going to be a lot of mattresses, and we'll see how many appliances they actually have in stock up here. You know, the mattresses really is filled up most of this floor by now. You know, prior it was children's clothing and etc. Now walking ahead, you see it walled off again. Basically, I'd say maybe a quarter of the second level is now walled off. They just don't have enough product for it. Looks like we have some appliances here. I believe the appliances were kind of just scattered down here on the left side with mattresses on the right side. We'll go ahead and take a walk and see what they have. Let's go ahead and take a walk out here into the mall area and see the front entrance of this Sears store and the signage that they have on the wall. You know, one thing I do remember about the old Sears stores is back in the day, you know, the Christmas decorations were just everywhere. You know, they'd have fake snow set up around certain things with Christmas trees everywhere. And now it's just been trimmed down to, you know, a couple of banners and these giant wreaths. One thing I can say is one of these giant wreaths, I actually came home with during the store closing. It took me about, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 visits. They were not willing to sell any of them. I believe maybe each one of the former employees were kind of had their names on them to take them home. But after speaking to the, I don't know if it was the store manager or by this time during the store closing, it was probably the liquidation manager. Basically me telling them how I used to be a former employee and it'd be kind of cool to have one of those wreaths. They finally relented and gave in, and to this day I'm really thankful that they let me have one of those giant wreaths. I put it on the front of my house during Christmas time. It's pretty cool to have as a souvenir. And again, we have another rolled off section. Look like they're using a bunch of packaged up refrigerators to wall that off. And then we have a little bit of the, as you can see, the what's left of the gym equipment. That's going to be kind of spread out here. Now this second floor entrance right there goes out to the second floor parking garage. As you can see, those are now all blocked off. Those two doors there, the one on the right hand side actually goes to the second level roof on the outside of the building. You know, a lot of these separate little stock rooms they have throughout the store, you can see they just basically walled it off, put plywood up. You know, obviously they don't have enough merch to bother sticking them in the stock room, and what merch they do have, they're obviously going to bring it out onto the sales floor. Well, let's go ahead and head back down to the first floor. That's about it for the second level, and we'll see what we can kind of poke around our noses around in. These escalators were pretty squeaky. Anybody got an oil can? We can maybe try to fix it for them. You know, seeing each one of these generic banners, which basically, if you think about it, you can put up probably at any store here in the mall, and it would kind of just fit in. I remember back in the day when I used to work for Sears, you know, we would have all of our banners, whatever they hung up was directly a Sears product. It was taken by Sears and produced by Sears to be product placement in the store with those banners, or a banner like that. In fact, I remember we had this gal, her job at my store was basically just to do the decorating, mannequins, displays. Of course, she was very busy and she had extra help during the Christmas season. But, you know, and it's probably been decades since Sears has had a dedicated person like this. But, you know, at the Class A stores, and probably even maybe some towards the Class B stores, that they basically, you know, each one of those stores had hundreds of employees very easily. You know, we were very busy back then. And, you know, it was kind of back when I think all of us had a lot of pride in Sears, and when Sears would stand behind the satisfaction or your money back guarantee. And that was just lost over the decades. It's pretty sad. You know, this lighting that kind of looks like skylights is actually left over from the former Frederick Nelson that used to be in this store, another Seattle-based retailer. Here's the exterior entrance in the main mall coming into Sears. Now let's go ahead and head back inside and wander around for a little bit more. Well, that's pretty much a wrap for walking around inside the store. Let's go outside, and I'm just going to show you some of the pictures I took over time of some of the products that I purchased in my many, many visits to this store. You know, work clothing, some tools. You know, some of them were deals, some of them weren't. But you know, you kind of only had of a limited time of what Sears is, how many more years Sears is going to be in business. So, and here's a couple of vans I seen parked actually quite a ways away from Sears, former Sears vans. And there's the Sears store itself, and there's the parking garage with some of the Sears labeling. Well, I really want to thank you for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you have a great week. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.